Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Abstract Essay, where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guests. They are the founders of the Digital Dojo, no other than Miss Colleen and Mr. Dana. Welcome. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Daniel. We're so excited to be
To
here.
be here with you as always.
Absolutely. And yes, the Digital Dojo is something that we started together after years of knowing each other, years of working together, and realizing that there were lessons from the dojo that we could apply to everybody's day-to-day life very simply and allow them to live better lives and have a way to set their own compass to move forward.
I like that. Move forward. And Mr. Dana, what can you tell about
Yes.
Digital Dojo?
Yes, the Digital Dojo is the online training space. It's the training hall in cyberspace that was inspired by the actual physical dojo that is the training hall and the seat of such great opportunity for people to feel themselves moving forward. So we wanted to take that energy, that atmosphere, and put it into the hands of as many people as possible. And with this wonderful tool that we have called the Internet and Technology, the Digital Dojo was born.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your the digital dojo to the world. And today, let's talk about, are we healing the wrong problem? A bold take on trauma. What inspired you, both of you, whether healing the wrong problem when it comes to trauma?
Yeah, there's so many parts of that are exciting. And I think for me, one of the ways in is that we feel like the point of healing trauma is to get to a point where we can forget it. Rather than getting to a point where whatever has happened, we can recognize how much stronger we are because of it, how much more capacity we have because of it, and how we are allowed to use that, again, to move ourselves forward.
That's a great answer.
Thank you.
I think there's many things that are very exciting and inspiring about exploring that question, Daniel. And one of the first that comes to mind for me is helping people understand that in a healed state, our trauma is just a part of our story, and our story is just a part of us. In an unhealed state, which is the result of healing the wrong problem or focusing on the wrong problem, the story and the trauma itself become bigger than us. So fundamentally, we are a part of the story and a part of the trauma, which makes us feel as if that story and that trauma are immovable, immutable truths that we can never move ourselves out from underneath the thumb of. So when we focus on the right problem, we start, and we can talk about what that means as well too, but we focus on the thing that's actually helping us build an embodied feeling of new space and new connection within, because those are the consequences of focusing on the right problem and actually handling and healing the trauma, as opposed to what our egos try to do, which is deflect our attention away from the real problem by focusing on the manufactured problems in our ego's perspective. So those are done to help us protect ourselves from shame and trauma, but ultimately over the long term, they don't serve our healing very well.
Embodied feeling like that. How do you define the wrong problem in the context of current trauma healing approaches?
Awesome question, as always, my friend.
I want to ponder that. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I'm going to, while Colleen ponders, I'm going to steal, while she's sitting here with us, one of her approaches that I've borrowed and is fantastic. Okay.
Yeah,
And
so
she's
that's about it.
She's built some terms that are very straightforward and very powerfully visual and clear to help us answer that very question. So when we are working with people, one of the things that we're talking about them understanding the difference of, okay, when we're talking about trauma, is that many people will pay all kinds of attention to what we call their skeletons in the closet.
Mm.
Right? Those are the more obvious problems that they're facing, that they're conscious of and they're aware of, but that they still keep hidden from the world, right? But they're the ones that they know about. They're the skeletons in the closet. Where the real problem lies, and it'll make more sense as we land in the clarity of this aspect, are what we call, and what I've stole from Colleen and she calls, the bodies buried in the backyard. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we're focusing on the skeletons in the closet, okay, what our egos do out of self-protection is they throw up the problems that we already are consciously aware and know are problems. And our ego uses those to distract us from going into the backyard and digging up the bodies that are buried, which are the problems that we aren't consciously aware of.
And the ones we're really afraid of.
Yes, exactly. They're the ones that are really driving our behavior in a powerful way because they're so far back of mind in our subconscious that they haven't crossed over into our conscious awareness yet. And because they're hidden so deeply, they're the ones that are creating the patterns and the problems that are the most impactful in a detrimental way to our behavior. So we've, through trial and error and long years of application, have really started to identify when a person is trying to distract us with the skeletons in the closet so that we never go anywhere near looking in the backyard for the buried bodies.
And Miss Colleen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds, again, whenever Dana explains anything, I'm like, that sounds very good.
Stole it from me?
It's not in my voice. It sounds amazing.
Sounds to me like it's in your voice.
And I think to add on to that, I think one of the challenges with trauma is so many times we end up staying in a place of powerlessness. So people will say, this terrible thing happened to me. I was completely powerless. I still am completely powerless. And again, like I said at the beginning, the best I can do is get to the point where it doesn't run my day-to-day life. And so much of what we do time and time again when we're working with people, and it's so exciting and so inspiring to watch people do this, is we're actually going, okay, first of all, you survived whatever that trauma was. You got through it. You have immense power and capacity that you were trained out of recognizing that you have. So once we recognize we have far more power, far more capacity than we thought we had, it doesn't just become about, phew, I survived. It's, oh, I survived. Great, bare minimum. That's the low benchmark. And how can I thrive from here on forward with that information, with what I've learned about myself?
Very well said, both of you. So in Digital Dojo, how would you heal the wrong problem?
I've got an answer.
Do you?
I do, but
you are very good at being fast with the answers.
No, that's okay. I'm very happy to hear any thoughts you've got.
Go ahead.
So in the approach that we consistently take, Daniel, the idea of the skeletons in the closet is not something that we demonize or judge. Because sometimes a person is so enmeshed in their trauma that even addressing the skeletons in the closet is a very challenging and difficult endeavor. The beautiful part, though, is that the skeletons in the closet, when we are being mindful of making sure that we're tracking down the actual problem as compared to the proposed problem is that we can build a lot of confidence in a person by helping them start with their skeletons. Because as they move through sorting through the skeletons in their closet, the idea of like, oh, here's the problems I think I have, when we are orientated towards not judging them or shaming them for having the courage to even look at any problem that they've got, whether they understand that it's the real problem or not, we can build their confidence, we can build their self-worth so that they gain momentum and enough positive encouragement to realize that they have the fortitude to tackle the problems that they don't know about. And when we speak about the importance of understanding the skeletons in our closet and how we put all those skeletons in there as we learned how to survive, particularly in our childhood, whatever traumatic situation we faced, we can get them to understand that there's a whole other realm of benefit and gain called thriving. Surviving is not just enough. You actually are here to thrive, not just to get by. But that idea of thriving in the face of an enmeshed trauma can feel so impossible and far away. Like it's just a concept that it's like seeing a unicorn. Nobody believes it, but they've all heard of one. That we can then take the skeletons in the closet and use them in a valuable way to build the person's confidence and to give them some trust, some experience of being able to actually, with focus and commitment, heal things that they never thought they could heal. Even the ones that they already think are a problem. When they heal those, they have a whole new kind of confidence to try and tackle the ones that are buried so deeply they're not even aware of them. And then that's when we really harness a person's capacity to be courageous and to connect to their own value.
Ms. Colleen?
Yeah, again, good answer. Thank you. And I think if I were to build on that, it would be so many people have been taught that some of the things that are immovable are this idea of you should be ashamed. And that anchors so much of the trauma. And they are not taught to look at the patterns. So I swear, if I could just change one thing for every single person listening to this, it would be to remove every part of their brain where well, they can keep their brain. They can keep their brain.
Yes.
Every part of them that has ever been taught to agree with this idea of you should be ashamed, because that will anchor the wrong trauma, because the trauma in there becomes, and this is my fault. I deserve to have had this terrible thing happen to me. So part one is move the you should be ashamed. For everyone in the world, I would be thrilled. The world would be a different place instantaneously. And the other part is teaching people that somehow these things happen in a vacuum. There is so much science out there that talks about how trauma cycles occur again and again and again as we are doing our best to learn lessons. And when you can step back and go, oh, this was just a part of that larger cycle. And once I recognize that, it becomes easier to move the cycle. It takes the pressure away from what happened in that one moment that I have to get right in the future or I'll be in danger again. It takes the pressure off. And you can make big, big changes very quickly.
Beautifully well said.
Beautifully articulated, both of you. Thank you for empowering answer as usual. What are the common misconceptions about trauma that lead to ineffective healing strategies?
Beautiful.
Do you have another fast answer?
Hey, do you have an answer at the ready? I don't know if it's good or if it's
amazing.
But,
go ahead.
Yeah, you asked such awesomely set up questions, Daniel. It's such a great pleasure to speak with you. So when we start to understand that trauma isn't just what happens to us, to quote the great Dr. Gabor Mate, trauma is what happens inside of us. It's how what happens outside of us and how that makes us feel inside is where the trauma is perpetuated and anchored. So many people feel like there's nothing they can do about the facts of what they've experienced that's traumatic, right? So something happened to them. It's physical in the real world, the material world. It's occurred. They can't erase it. They can't go back and change it. And they feel very defeated by that before they even get started on a healing journey. They're like, well, there's no point in starting a healing journey because there's nothing I can do about that. That thing happened to me. That's it. Okay. That's one of the fallacies about healing trauma that we try to remove, because when you can acknowledge and recognize that there's two parts to trauma, it's not just what happens to you, it's what happens inside of you that really creates the experience of trauma. We can then make a new agreement with those feelings that have happened inside of us and turn the power of that narrative in our favor, as opposed to it only being against us. So in a simple sense, we may not be able to change the facts of what happened to us, but we can change the way we feel about those facts. We can change the story of the impact of those facts, because that happened within our own sovereign domain inside. It was my feeling about what happened to me or how I was treated. That's really the part that's anchored the shame and perpetuated the trauma. Give a person the possibility that they can change the feelings around what happened. They can change the story about the meaning of what happened in a way that makes them feel different. It's not just positive thinking, but we're actually shifting how they feel inside. Then all of a sudden we're in a brand new space where healing not only becomes possible, it becomes very achievable and doable.
Mm-hmm. Nice. 15 points for you.
Thank you. I'll take them.
Doable indeed. Miss Colleen, can you share an example or a situation where someone was treated for the wrong aspect for their trauma?
Yeah, so many of them. The one that comes immediately to mind is someone who had come in, gosh, it was a few years ago now, and I see this happen all the time. And they went in, there had been a physical accident that they had been in, and they went in saying, oh, I feel like the problem is right here. They pointed to a specific area, and they were told, no, you're wrong. It's over here. And I know we're talking specifically physically, and I'm going to slide it into the emotional part as well. And so they, she believed them, because why wouldn't you believe the experts? And now it had been 2-3 years, and she was still in a lot of pain. And she came in to see me, and there was almost this throwaway where she said, oh, I don't know what's wrong with me. I keep thinking the pain's coming from here, but they've assured me that it isn't, so we have to work on this. So could we work on this? And I said, or we could be wild and crazy, and I could listen to you, and we can work on the part that you think is the problem. And she said, no, that's not the problem. And I said to her, but have you ever treated that? And she said, well, no, because I was told it wasn't the problem. So we treated what she said was the problem, and lo and behold, almost instantly she felt some relief. And we actually didn't even have that many sessions, and she was feeling quite a bit better. And that was exciting for me, because after 2 or 3 years, it can feel intimidating to think, oh my goodness, what can I do to actually help this person who's suffering? But part of what we ended up talking about was this idea that the wrong part of the trauma that was addressed was she was not allowed to be an essential part of her own healing team. She was told what was wrong with her, and when she wasn't getting better, she was told that she was part of the reason and there was nothing to be done. It took away her hope. And anytime we are not allowing people hope, and anytime we are not encouraging hope in people, we're treating the wrong part of the trauma, and we're treating the wrong part of their life. Because when we don't have hope, why go on, right?
Yes,
Yes.
definitely. And Mr. Denner?
Yeah, that's just building on what Colleen said and off of your awesome question, Daniel. We can't expect people to trust a process intellectually before they have any connection to the possibility in a hopeful way that they can feel. So in terms of working on the right problem or the wrong problem, the right part of the trauma or the wrong part of the trauma, oftentimes where Colleen and I work with people who feel like they're at the end of their rope, like they've tried many other things, they come to us absolutely hopeless, feeling like there's nothing that can be done, and we're kind of in the last resort, and if we can't help them, then nobody can. And we didn't intend it to be like that, but it just sort of has ended up that way. One of the things that we focus on and recognize as a powerful tool in that very difficult position is listening without judgment. Because before a person can talk about specifically about what happened to them in a factual sense, before they can even start to address how it made them feel in an emotional sense, if they don't feel any hope is just the feeling that, and the belief that we can feel a little bit better than we did in the previous moment. If they don't feel any hope with you in present time, in the room, or in any kind of communication that we're on, then we are not treating the right part of the trauma, because the trauma isn't what happened to them. The trauma isn't even necessarily only how they feel about what happened to them. The trauma gets compounded by the loss of hope that they continually face, because they don't feel like there's any way that they can move. They can't change the facts, and they don't feel like there's any way they can shift the feelings. So oftentimes we find people who have come in and have tried many things to heal themselves and haven't had anybody recognize that they've lost their hope. So in terms of treating the right problem, that would be the first place that we would start. We have to get them feeling hopeful again. And the tool of listening without judgment is simply and incredibly effective in rehabilitating and reconnecting them to some possibility of hope that they can actually feel in their hearts.
Nice.
Empowering answer. Empowering answer, both of you. Don't lose hope, people. Try until you succeed in everything you do. What practical steps can individuals take to identify whether they addressing the true source of their trauma?
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. You first.
Sure. For me, because I'm very practically minded and I like things to work under pressure and application, I ask people to utilize the self-analysis of their own behavior. So you'll know if you're addressing the right part of your trauma healing and the problem that it presents if you can actually measure and see different shifts and changes in your actual behavior in the world. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you've been traumatized by being fired from a job, okay, and we recognize that the trauma that you experienced as an adult of being fired from a job is connected to the trauma you felt from being punished by your uncle for being late to your cousin's birthday party. If we can identify that as the right fact, and actually that did occur, then we can also look at how it's impacting us in the future, or in the present, where we got fired from the job because we were late too often. We'll know that we're actually healing the right part of that trauma if we start to feel a reduction in the fear around being late by actually proving to ourselves in a behavioral shift in the real world that we can not only show up on time for something, that we can actually be early. Right? If we've actually accomplished being on time, that means we're addressing the right part of the problem. If we've actually accomplished being early, that means we've actually been really dialing in and addressing the right part of the problem. Without the behavioral shift and the evidence of that in the real world, we can surmise that, okay, maybe we're not at the heart of the actual right problem yet, or we're directing our focus to the wrong problem. The trauma wasn't, I got fired from my job. That trauma was a re-triggering. The trauma was, I got yelled at by my uncle for being late to my cousin's birthday party, and then I didn't get any cake at the party as punishment. That's the right problem. And how that shows up internally reflects how we behave externally, and that's why we look at behavioral changes as a really reliable metric to knowing we're going in the right direction.
Very well said, Mr. Dana. Beautifully articulated. Miss Colleen, what challenges arise when trying to achieve mental health fields focused toward healing the correct trauma problems?
Oh, beautiful as always, Daniel. Thank you.
Excellent.
I think some of that, and this is going to sound like perhaps like I'm minimizing it, and it's actually the opposite. People take it too seriously. They take it not seriously enough in some ways, and too seriously in other ways.
True.
So not seriously enough in that people think, well, I couldn't possibly, so therefore I'm not going to try. And far too seriously that they go, well, okay, I'm working on trauma. This is going to be like, this is going to be a slog. I'm going to devote a good chunk of my life to it. I will not enjoy any of it. And hopefully by the end, I'll feel better. There are going to be moments when you're healing trauma that aren't fun. Absolutely. And first of all, anything that you can do to have some joy in there, to have some laughter in there, to have some to allow that brain cascade. When we laugh, the brain cascade of chemicals is immeasurable, and it cancels out cortisol and all the stress chemicals, adrenaline, all those things. It just tells your body it's okay. And the other part of that is when we can have those moments of laughter, it reminds us we're still here. We still have power. We still have capacity. And it also gives us the place to reframe. And I don't know on your end, Daniel, I fiddle while I'm listening, while I'm processing, while I'm talking. And, 3 minutes ago, Dana was talking, answering a great question, and I hit a key by accident and the music started in the background. I don't know if you could hear that on your end.
Yes.
Yeah. So we had 10 seconds of "We Built This City on Rock and Roll." Good song. Not intentional. And those moments of, okay, that was not what I wanted to do. This is live. There's no changing it. And later it's going to be funny.
Yes.
Like, it's not funny. I don't want to interrupt your show. Your show is amazing. But giving ourselves the space to go, okay, I'm going to find new ways to fiddle because that was not an ideal situation. Again, takes us out of that shame context.
Very empowering answer as well, Miss Colleen. Thank you so much for empowering us. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because, of course, my abstract essay is already in 5th season, abstract poetry in 2nd season, and my book 101 review in 5th season too, comedy 101 in 2nd season, and my food 101 in 5th season as well. Geography 101 in 4th season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in 3rd season, and Movie 101 review and Music 101 in its 4th season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its 1st season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So to wrap up our discussion for today, Ms. Colleen and Mr. Dana, what's one key takeaway you hope people gain from your bold take on healing the right trauma problem?
Mine is the two that I've already said. Please erase "you should be ashamed," and please lean into the laughter.
Yes. Laughter is the best medicine, people.
It is. Yeah.
And Mr. Dana?
Yes, mine is very simply to keep your focus on being very aware of what feels meaningful to you. Anytime we step in the direction of things that feel meaningful, that in itself is a healing action. And when we can build a momentum of meaningful, we get back to the sense that we are bigger than our trauma.
Yeah.
Bigger than. Excellent answer, and empowering too. So can you please invite our listeners to support the Digital Dojo?
Amazing. Thank you. Yes, we'd love to see you on the digitaldojo.net. We would love to have you watch some videos, take a course with us, leave us messages on what works and what you want us to do. We get so excited when we see new faces on there.
Yes.
You can
People.
find
Yes, Mr.
all
Dan.
of our socials there as well too. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and we've got all kinds of offerings for whether you've got 2 minutes or 10 hours. So we'd love to see you there.
Yes, people, let's support the Digital Dojo, because if you support them, for sure, more and more and more empowering advocacy will come. So, Miss Colleen and Mr. Dana, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
It's always such a
And for
pleasure.
your inspiration.
Yes.
We always walk away more charged up than when we came in.
Yeah.
More to come, people. See you soon. Something went wrong with my riverside.
I can play. We built